Hello. How is everybody doing? I hope you all are doing very well. I am coming to you today, and today is going to be a struggle stream, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, this is really a very hot topic that I think is worth discussing. So, I'm going to go ahead and press the record button, ladies and gentlemen, so it will be available on the playback. How are you all doing? It's been a minute since I did a live, and I just want to come on and talk about the hottest topic. There's actually a lot happening right now in the news, and so it's so many things going on that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I really should make it a point to start somewhere because there are a lot of stories I want to touch on and get people's input and feedback on. So, welcome to Black Travelers Network channel, where we are always ready to travel to a new destination. I am your host, Jess. I hope you're doing well this early morning, late night, early morning. There is, as I stated, quite a bit happening in the news. So, this is one of the stories I will be talking about this evening, as you can see from the title of it. And, you know, some of these stories that have like really captivated me at this moment in time is, there are stories that include a lot of travel messages, which is this story. There's stuff happening on the African continent. There's stories about the Bahamas and Colombia and how dangerous they are. And by the way, if you have not checked out our video, I did a video over a year ago, a little over a year ago, about traveling to Colombia and what's actually happening there and why travelers should be on alert when they go. And so definitely check that out. But there's a lot of stories to cover, and so today we're going to talk about the Fani Willis hearings because that has been true entertainment. And so, of course, this story about Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is captivating the attention of a lot of people right now. And so, for those of you who are unclear on where Fulton County it is in the great state of Georgia. And Fulton County covers the Atlanta metro area and its surrounding areas. So that is really important to us because we actually have a lot of our travelers, a lot of our community, probably a big chunk of the Black Travelers Network community that's located right there in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, and its surrounding areas. And so before we get into it, today, if you appreciate the video content you see, do not hesitate to show your appreciation by clicking the like button and make it a point to subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking at your screen, you will see that these are our latest trips that we have coming up on the list. And so, like I said, forgive me because today is a struggle stream day. I normally like to come on super prepared, but it's so many moving parts, y'all. I'm not gonna even lie, I'm not prepared. But what I can tell you, if any of these destinations attract you, make sure you email us at blacktravelersnetwork@gmail.com to add your name to our notification list regarding any of the upcoming trips that you are interested in being a part of. And I will say that we just wrapped up one of our more recent trips, and so I'm excited about what's coming this year. And I don't really come on camera too much, but I'm gonna come on. It's early morning, And I'm going to go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and come on camera. It's not something I do on this platform very often. Actually, I do it more on the Instagram platform and the Facebook platform. But when it comes to YouTube, I really enjoy the audio experience. And so, hello. I hope you're well. I hope you can see me. I got a lot going on the desk here and a lot of setup stuff. I need to really improve on my setup and all of that. And so I hope this stream cooperates with me because already I'm starting to see a bit of an issue in terms of what I actually have prepared for today. So let us see what we have tonight. And so again, I I want to just preface before I go into this story um, that I spend a lot of time with children, my little munchkin nephews, and so because I spend so much time with the little people, I'm really good about checking my language. I don't use a lot of profanity or raw talk. I'm very, very thoughtful of those of you who are listening. And so I want to just give myself some permissions because right now, at this moment in time, it's after 3 a.m. So there shouldn't be too many young people who are awake. I know today technically is a holiday here in America. And so I know a lot of kids will be out of school today. A lot of places of businesses will be closed in observance of the holiday. But um, it's a lot of drama leading up to this election season. And this story that is in the news is like sort of like this precursor to the presidential election that's coming up. So I wasn't really paying attention to this story at all. I've kind of like checked out completely. But after having listened to some of the snippets from the story, I was very surprised by how much travel plays a role in this whole Fani Willis hearing. So I'm, like I said, live right now, late night, and because this is kind of like an adult topic, it's intentionally done at this hour. So we're going to get into some adult topics and conversations on this one. So forgive me in advance if my language gets raw and colorful. And if you are easily offended by curse words, if you are easily offended by sexual conversations, then I'm going to ask that you leave the live right now. Like I said, I'm around kids most of my time. And I'm giving myself some permissions tonight to be free, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about this Fani Willis case. And let me take a step back. Not Fanny. She says her name is Fani Willis. So let's talk about this Fani Willis case and the intersection it has with the world of travel. And for those of you who do not know Fani Willis was actually elected as the Fulton County DA and DA District Attorney back in 2020. Now, I encourage all of our folks in Atlanta to not vote for Fani Willis, and I'm just going to be fully transparent because there were some key cases that involved what to me was very clear hate crimes against black people, black men, to be specific, that had happened in Atlanta. And I knew she was not going to go after those criminals who were, clearly guilty in the killing of some of these black brothers. So I urged folks in Atlanta, um, and oh my gosh, I'm hoping that there's not a problem with the stream because it seems like there's a moment where it might be freezing. Let me know if everything working optimally or no. Because if it's not, I may have to make some adjustments and come back. Uh, Let me just do a quick check because I'm I'm trying to figure some things out. Let me take out this earpiece. Let me put in the other earpiece. Okay. If there's any little hiccup with the live and how it's actually playing, you can always catch it on the replay. And usually the replay is pretty seamless. So hopefully there are no issues. But I kind of noticed a little bit out of my peripheral because I have a camera on the side of me that where I'm able to see. But back to what I was saying, I just felt like she wasn't really going to go after these criminals. And to me, her opponent had a better handle on the importance of these issues and the importance of pursuing the criminals who had blatantly taken the lives of these black men. I think maybe Ahmaud Arbery might have been one of those cases. And I just could tell by who was actually funding Fani's campaign that she was likely going to not pursue that as much as she could. And since she's been DA, we can see where her priorities have been in who she's pursuing. She's pursuing RICO charges against what rappers and gang members or whatever the case may be. So I just kind of I already saw that coming. But the citizens of Fulton County, y'all decided, and we can't go against what is supposed to be a democratic process. And so Fani is the people's choice. At least the majority of the people chose her, and we just have to respect that. Now, just to give you guys a quick recap, Fani is in the spotlight because she is trying the Donald Trump case regarding whether or not Trump and his allies conspired over his election loss in 2020. Now, by doing this, Fani instantly becomes a target. Like the right wingers are going to come after her, guns blazing, of which they have, and this is the purpose of this hearing. So these hearings are there kind of digging into whether or not she should be removed from the case. Now, I don't know whether or not she should be removed or if she should not. I haven't really formulated an opinion on that. What I can say is that they are digging into her personal life and her personal finances because she hired her ex-lover. Well, I say ex-lover, at the time he was her lover, Nathan Wade, to help with the prosecution of the Trump case. And Nathan Wade's contract basically pays him, I think it's like $650,000. And there had been allegations that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis's relationship was happening during the time that Nathan Wade was technically still married. So they are digging deep to see if she used government funds to pay her lover, if she's accepted any kind of gifts uh, from him or anyone else. Just a lot of things that they're kind of raking over the coals and going in depth to really discredit her because they don't want her on this case trying Trump and his allies. And, it's all being done to get Fani Willis removed from the case. But, we are here to talk about the travel piece of this puzzle and to ask the question, should women share the bill in love, travel, and vacations. And so that's the initial question, right? And I'd like for you to drop your comments in the chat if you're joining live, and drop your comments in the comments section on the playback if you have any thoughts about this topic. So let's start. And I want to, hopefully, I can get everything to work when it comes to what I want and what I need to play when it comes to Miss Fani Willis. I want to get things going by playing a clip of Fani from the hearing, and let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. What we got going on here. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna play because I want the video. Oh yeah, we got it. We got it. We got it. We got action. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me take myself off the screen and let me let you hear from Miss Fani Willis. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Hold on.
Well, let me tell you our real trips. In October, we went on the cruise with his mom. We got back from the cruise with his mom and we went to Aruba. I consider that one trip. Second trip, New Year's Eve, we went on a cruise to the Bahamas. That's the second trip. I want to make sure I get this right. Third trip, 100% on me. I think he might have spent $200 on that entire trip. We went to Belize. That was my trip. That was, his 50th. And then Napa Valley, we went around May. I don't know the dates, but it seems to me like it was close to Mother's Day.
And those are the only trips?
So that the record is complete, I can remember one time driving to, where were we? South Carolina, and we met my sister for lunch with her man.
When was that?
I don't know, but we didn't stay the night there. But I guess people would consider that a trip if you drive somewhere and you come back. That was insane because it was like 5 hours to drive. We ate lunch and we drove right back. I can remember driving to some little town in Georgia. I don't even know where I was. I had never been there before or after. There's some boat you can get on over to, and there's like a slave thing, if that gives anyone any reference. We didn't do that. I remember doing that. I remember driving one time to Charlotte. We had lunch with one of my very close girlfriends, and again, we drove to Charlotte, met my girlfriend for lunch, and drove right back. So that's a trip. We didn't stay the night there, but I just want to be complete in my testimony. We drove someplace, had lunch, drove back. I don't remember another driving someplace distant for lunch and coming back to Charlotte to see a girlfriend, to meet my sister in South Carolina. We went by ourselves when I told you about that remote place in Georgia. We could have driven someplace else and had lunch and came back, but that's all that comes to my recollection right now. There could have been another place we drove and had lunch. My security team was very clear to me. I'm not to be out and about in Atlanta without them. And so for me to do something just very normal that a normal person would get to do if they weren't prosecuting this case, I got to drive 4 hours to do it. So let me tell you our real trips.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. They were getting it in all over the Americas. Well, I say all over the Americas, but Fani talks about how they were in the islands and what did she say? Aruba, the Caribbean. Well, yeah, because they went on a cruise ship, and this goes to show, technically, the brother was still married during the time all of this was going down. So I'm not 100% sure that everything that was happening was totally and completely above board. You know, I mean, it's a little bit on the tricky side when it comes to this. And Nathan Wade took the stand and he basically said that the for those of you who haven't really been following, the nature of what was actually going on between the two of them was the fact that Wade's wife actually cheated on him. And she cheated on him with one of his very good friends. And that was my understanding when the cheating happened. It happened back in 2015. And in his testimony on the stand, he basically said, hey, look, I was cheated on in my marriage. And back in 2015, technically, from his perspective, his marriage was irretrievably broken. And although him and his wife didn't go through the formal process of filing for divorce, according to Nathan Wade, he was done in 2015 when he discovered that his wife had cheated on him with his best friend. And so that's kind of the grace that everybody is sort of giving Nathan Wade and looking at this case, but it's still technically he was a married man. And I'm thinking about this timeline that Fani talks about, how her and Nathan was going on all these trips. And I want to know, drop a comment in the chat or drop a comment in the comment section. Do you think it was too much too soon with her and Wade going on all these trips? They done went to different parts of the southeast coast, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee. They gone to California, Napa Valley. They did a bunch of excursions around the wineries and with the wine tours. So that was an experience that they had and shared together. And then they went on a cruise ship. She met his mother. I mean, it's just like they went to the Bahamas. They went to Aruba. I mean, they went a lot of places. And, I think what we have to do is we have to preface all of this. And I want to remind you guys that Fani is an elected official. And the reason why that's important is because she has to move differently than most women. And I say that because at any given moment, her personal finances can be brought under scrutiny. They're already trying to figure out if he was giving her gifts or if she was paying him and how she was paying him and all that stuff. So she can't move like the average woman because at any given moment, for any reason, her finances could be brought under scrutiny and she could basically she could lose all of this that she has if they feel that she's taking money or taking gifts and getting some sort of kickback from being in office. And so that's one thing to keep in mind as we talk about this whole situation and how how Fani's moving in terms of her interaction with Nathan Wade. So let me see if I can get this other clip going. I need it to cooperate with me. Let's go. Now this is the clip where Fani is gonna talk so she's being cross-examined and they're trying to get at where's this money coming from, like what's going on, how are you taking money. This is what this clip is gonna show. So let me play this.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that
I'm going to object as to what time period. Like we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're going to go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're going to treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much. I think you can elect between leading and open-ended questions, but I think we are still wondering about, and I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next question about if you did go out to dinner, who paid when you went out to dinner?
He paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill. Whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
What? Yes. We're talking about, I'm very confused
You've
now.
never given Mr. Wade money through Cash App.
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened? No, we're gonna answer it since you said it. He worked. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
if
never
we
used
would
a
go to
credit card?
dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The
monies.
proof is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent 800, I can't remember, $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof.
can move to the next question. If you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. What did you think about that line of questioning? Do you actually believe Fani is telling the truth on that? Because here's what we can't say in the courtroom, okay? Because see, inquiring minds want to know what portion of the trips, Fani, that you were taking with Mr. Wade was paid for in cash, and what portion of the trip was paid for in ass, okay? That's what we really want to know. Let's be honest, because at the end of the day, like, all of this is courtroom theater as far as I'm concerned. You know, that's really what she trying to figure out, because she asked about checks, which who's really using checks? I mean, and when I say she asked, I'm talking about the attorney who was cross-examining Fani. She asked about some checks. She's Fani, like, I don't use checks. I mean, how many of us are really using checks today? Like, we don't really use checks like that anymore. So I'm like, let's stop bullshitting. Like, we know what we trying to figure out. Like, did you pay him in cash or did you pay him in ass? I mean, like, we just gonna call it for what it is. And, we want to know, Fani Willis, what portion of the citizens of Fulton County, what portion of their tax money was going towards you getting your back blown out in Aruba? That is the truth, okay? That is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. And as a woman, I really hope she got it all the way in. But as the questioning develops, I'm sure you're going to find that, we going to see what conclusions y'all come to. But we going to be honest tonight. That's my whole thing, because a lot of this cannot be said on the record. Clearly in the courtroom, there's a lot of game playing, a lot of semantics, because a lot of this stuff, it's just like, come on now, y'all are reaching. But women, I want to talk to the ladies real quick, because, and to you gentlemen, because at the end of the day, we as women, we accept certain forms of payment. Okay, some of us take cash, some of us, may take a payment through Zelle. Some of us are gonna accept a Cash App, or two. There's so many different ways. Some of us take Apple Pay. Some of us, take a credit or a debit transaction if you set up and you can accept that. So women, we tend to be very specific about how we accept payment, and it comes down to what we are most comfortable with in terms of how we pay versus how we accept. Now, men on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about men, because I love my brothers. I love men, okay? Because y'all are so different from us. Women, we have limitations on how we gonna take the payment. Men, my experience is men accept all forms of payment, okay? Men accept Cash App, Zelle, money orders, checks, credit card, PayPal, cash, ass, pussy, titties, pictures. I mean, like, you can just go down the list when it comes to the men. Men accept everything, okay? Different forms of payment, okay? And I've had, as I think about it, just my experience and traveling throughout the world and kicking it and going to this event and that event, I've had the cost of entrance to an event go from $100 to $50 to $20 to free, just because I was wearing the right kind of shirt that night, okay? So, you are not going to convince me that Fani only paid Mr. Nathan Wade in cash, okay? She may have paid some in cash, and we trying to figure out if she put in that work, 15 minutes of work, or was it 20 minutes, 5 minutes of work to make up the difference in payment. But I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, it was not all cash that this woman was paying, okay? I'm telling you what I know, okay? And so I'm going to advance the conversation, and we're gonna play the next clip. And the next clip is when Fani started talking about, basically she signals to the cross-examiner's team that they ain't even really technically asking her the right question, and that she's basically signaling, hey, she'll tell more if they want to know. She's willing to tell more. And so it is very interesting. But Fani came to talk, and she did not come to play, okay? And so what we gonna do is, let me find this clip. Let me find the clip, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to everybody who is watching live and who's watching on the playback. It's real wild and crazy, because I do these, in the butt crack of dawn. And not many people are up at this hour, and so that is not by accident when we're talking about a topic like this. So let me get the play going on, and here we go.
You indicated your best recollection was that your relationship with Mr. Wade, the romantic relationship, ended. You left it in August of 2023. That sound right?
That's the hard conversation. That's not the.
We've covered this. Next question.
And you characterized it as a tough conversation, correct?
Yes.
I'm not going to get into the conversation per se.
We should.
Well, if he doesn't want to, we won't go there. So, Mr. Sadon, next question.
You know, it's kind of hard to say no when you've got that opportunity. But all I'm going to say is, was it pre-indictment in this case?
So,
We know the timeline that the indictment was delivered. Well,
but,
actually,
and so that we're
I'll give you
clear,
that.
the physical relationship ended pre-indictment.
And is that when you were talking about the tough conversation?
But I'm not sure that the tough conversation didn't happen until after, but the physical relationship, so I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July, because physical contact ended then. Just in my mind, being a woman, it's over when you have that, like, hard conversation. I just think women and men think differently.
Okay. You indicate.
Okay, you heard what Fani said. Fani said men and women, we think differently. And how many of you agree? Drop it in the chat. Do you think we really do think differently? I think that if you pay attention to how men move and how women move, it becomes very clear that we do think differently. Just in terms of, like what I just said, just the many different forms of payment men will accept that we as women will not even consider. We won't even think twice about it. You know, we just move differently. And, you know, in that particular clip, she's talking about having to have this tough conversation because she ended the sexual contact with Wade prior to having the conversation. So she feel like, hey, you know, she took that off the table and, you know, they're no longer together, and he would probably say that. Now, that may or may not be true. That may be her characterization of what she felt from him based off of her not sleeping with him anymore. And so it got real deep after this because she reveals some information at this point in the hearing that I didn't think she was going to reveal. And I didn't think she was going to reveal it because she hinted at it earlier in her testimony. And she said, I don't want to say. But oh, honey, when she said she didn't want to say what was really going on out of respect for him, I mean, honey, the respect went out the door because she you know, she let it all kind of hang out and reveal some intimate details about Wade. And so here is this in this clip. I want you to hear what she said was kind of like the reason why they broke up. I say it was the reason why they broke up, but the reality is it's just her indicating, you know, just what led to her having the tough conversation. And so
The romantic relationship ended before the indictment was returned, yes or no?
To a man, yes.
Well, to a man, yes. To you, no?
She's explained this, Mr. Sadon. She's explained this.
And did the forthcoming indictment have anything to do with that?
Ooh.
Or was it just a coincidence?
Mr. Let's go on and have the conversation.
I've just asked you whether or not it was a coincidence.
Had absolutely nothing to do with this. It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
The romantic relationship.
you heard Fani. Fani said she don't need a man for that. And I want to know, ladies, what y'all think about that. And gentlemen, you know, feel free to drop it in the chat as well, and drop it in the comments. What do y'all think about that? Because, you know, Fani went hard in the paint on that part of her testimony, and that she don't need anything from a man. That's what she said now. Obviously she needs something because she ended up in a in a situation, that she's having to talk and discuss her intimate relationships. But it's like I kind of feel for her in the respect of she thought that she had something with him, and it's not clear. It's not 100% clear why. Um, there was tension outside of what she's indicating, which is the tension came because Wade almost seemed like he want to reduce her to a chef or a cook or a homemaker, and I think she's highly offended because she's a very successful, not even just a successful attorney, but she's the DA, and she made sure that his pockets were lined, and so for him to say that the only thing that a woman could do was make him a sandwich when here she is as a woman who she sees herself as an equal to him. We can talk about that level of equality however you see it or however I see it, I don't know, but without question she is the reason why he got a $650,000 job. If it was not for Fani, that bag would never have come to Nathan. And so it's kind of insulting to hear her say that he's said that the only thing she could do for him is make him a sandwich, because it's like that's not really what you're saying when you cash in these $650,000 checks that you're getting for the work that you're doing, okay? Because I promise she was doing more than, Fani was making more than sandwiches, okay? And we're going to talk about how she was making more than sandwiches with this man, because here's the intimate detail that she did not want to discuss, that I guess she got caught up in the emotions of the moment, and she kind of let the cat out the bag. But here's what Fani has to say about Nathan Wade and why this whole hearing thing is kind of ridiculous. And this is very interesting that she let this out.
Yes, sir.
You had contact with Mr. Wade in the year 2020, correct?
I had some contact with Mr. Wade.
Would you explain when you say some contact? Please tell us, talking about 2020.
I had some contact with Mr. Wade in 2020. One of the reasons your allegations are so preposterous, or Miss Merchants that you have joined, is...
Ma'am,
No,
I didn't
no.
ask you about the allegations. I asked you about your contact. That's all I ask you, okay? I appreciate that you want to say something, but I'm interested in, did you have contacts with Mr. Wade in 2020? And your answer so far has been yes, correct?
Very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
And I do appreciate the
I'm not going
characterization.
to emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. Did you understand that?
All right,
Well, I don't
let's
think
get
we should
back on
discuss
track.
further.
Mr. Sato, next question.
Trying to, Your Honor.
Woo! Fani brought it in that last bit, okay? See, now that, at that point, that's when, so for me, I read that in a couple of different ways, okay? Because when they talked about, when the attorney asked her about contact, I'm thinking that, he's talking about conversation, meeting up, whatever the case may be. She's talking about she ain't gonna emasculate a black man. So that leads me to believe that their contact was limited because of his health issues. And it was basically at that point that I started kind of feeling bad I started feeling a little bad for Fani because Mr. Wade had health issues, and he was not, in the best kind of condition, I guess, for her to have regular contact with him. And, we're not going to make light of this because this is actually a serious matter. But both men and women, when there's a health issue that arises, it impacts you both physically and mentally. So because Mr. Wade had serious life-threatening issues, it's a strong possibility that the brother wasn't even able to get it up, or a form of an illness that can be terminal can have on the body. Even after the road to recovery, the cancer treatments and the meds they have a lasting impact on a person's body. And so men at a particular point in time, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about this, especially men, but some men after they reach a particular age, if we don't even factor in any health issues, some have problems getting it up, and once they get it up, some have problems keeping it up. Like we all adults, and that's just the nature of what men go through. So I just kind of felt bad for Fani, and the interesting thing about that testimony is it almost in a roundabout way. Tell me if I'm wrong. Drop a comment in the section. Tell me if I'm wrong. But it almost seemed like she somewhat suggested that if it wasn't no sexual contact between her and Wade, that her contact was going to be limited with him anyway, because she started talking about emasculating a black man. Like, that came from nowhere. Like, wait, how did we get here? You know what I mean? Like, it just was weird. And so I'm just wondering, because she also said, that's another thing Fani said in her testimony, and I don't have the clip, but she said that Nathan Wade was not her first choice, okay? And I'm like, you better tell the truth, Fani, because I hate to say it, because I don't want to offend any guys who listen, but the reality is most men are not a woman's first choice. Like, most of y'all just aren't. I think only in, when I reflect on my life, okay, I probably had one guy who was only no, I take that back, two guys who were my first choices, okay? And it's so funny because one of my first choices, he's still the first choice, okay? But he won't give me the time of day. Like, he won't take my call, and I'll save that story for another, I'll save it for another live. But most men, when a woman is dealing with you, you don't know what number you fall on that spectrum of choices. And so maybe the man that Fani really wanted didn't really want her, or maybe the man that Fani wanted was married, or, it could have been any number of reasons why Fani ended up with Wade and he wasn't her first choice. Life happens. That's how things go. So I kind of felt bad for her because, he was stricken with cancer, and she said in the early testimony that he almost didn't make it. And so, I imagine it looks like the brother has recovered, and it has pulled the pieces to his life back together. And so shout out to that brother for recovering and fighting the good fight. And it sounds like he's on a pathway of better health, but I looked at that and I'm like, they weren't trying to make this all salacious and talking about, really they trying to figure out how many times they was getting it in, but I'm like, Fani out here performing community service to get and keep that keep him up, okay? And the way I know it is because she admitted to having to have a hard conversation with him. And, when we as women get to the place where we have to have a hard conversation about the relationship and the way it's going and what's happened, when we have to have that hard conversation and in our minds, we're putting you on notice that this ain't gonna work, this is over. That's how the D, low key, the D is underperforming. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, that's just real talk, because women, especially women of a particular age, I think Fani is like 52, 53 years old. After you get to a certain age in life, and I'm not that old, but and not that that's old at all, but I'm just saying that, once you get to a particular age in life, for women, we not letting good D go. We just not. We always keeping that door open because good D, believe it or not, is hard to find. It really is. And, when I say good D, I'm not talking about, oh, how good he look. Oh, does he look good? Does he look good in a three-piece suit? Does he wear that well? How much money he got? I'm not talking about that kind of, I'm not talking about that. That is not a measure at all of good D, okay? Let's just put that out on the table. I'm talking about good D that there's like no question that is good, okay? I you know I'm just I'm just very particular because I feel like women signal to men in society that you got to have a good job, you got to have money, you got to have all of these things that are preferences that for some of us are necessities. For us to even give a brother the time of day, like women kind of signal a number of different things, but none of that equates to good D. Okay, when I say good D, I'm talking about how nasty are you? Can you make the pussy scream? Can you make the pussy cream? Okay? That's the kind of good D I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making me scream. Can you make the pussy scream? That is good D, ladies and gentlemen. And so I say all of that to say, okay? I could talk about this topic forever and a day, okay? I say all of that to say, um, Bonnie was paying a lot. Okay, she was paying for a lot, and I feel like she paid because of the nature of the work that she does, and because, like I said, at any given moment, her finances can be brought under scrutiny. And when you're dealing with that kind of a situation where at any given point in time your finances can be brought under scrutiny, the last thing you want is to get caught up financially in a personal relationship with someone who things could seem a little, the lines could be a little blurred. Okay, so I don't know how much of this testimony is true. Okay, it doesn't come down to whether or not it's true or not. It comes down to what can and cannot be proven, right? And so her and Nathan Wade are signaling that they only dealt in cash. And my understanding from having friends who are attorneys, it's not uncommon for lawyers and different types of attorneys to have cash. It's just not an uncommon thing. For most of us, we don't carry cash. Like, I don't carry cash. I don't even carry cash a lot of times when I'm traveling. Although, I carry like local currency cash, but I'm not really big on carrying cash. I just don't really like doing that. Okay. But I will say that this is really fascinating because what she's signaling, and she said it in one of the clips, that she worked so hard, I feel, to prove to him that she's an equal, that she could pay her own way. Her daddy paid for everything. She don't have to pay for everything for herself. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not trying to prove that to not one man. Okay. I'm not trying to prove it to a man. I will tell you, as a woman who, I was my father, my daddy, his only child. And when I tell you, God rest his soul, when he was here on earth, he spoiled me to no end. So I'm not one of those women that's going to try to prove that somehow I'm equal to a man, because we're different. We're just different. I am so thankful that I am a woman. I do not desire to be a man or the man in any kind of relationship. I enjoy being a woman. And I just feel like the question comes up often. And, it could depend on where you are at in the particular relationship you're in when you're involved with someone of the opposite sex. But I'd like to know, do you feel that women should share in the cost of paying for travel, vacations, whatever you want to call it? Should we be contributing to those experiences? I would disagree with how Fani did it, because it seems like she paid for everything, okay? And when you are a woman and you're paying for everything, I have to wonder, is this man even really feeling you like that? I mean, and if he ain't really feeling you, like, why are you wasting your time? That kind of, I don't know, that just, to me, that's the only problem I had with Fani, her testimony and her statement, in terms of she's his equal, and she's gonna pay her way, and that's why she would always give him his money back. That's very strange to me, because I've had men who have taken me out here and there and everywhere, and I've never reimbursed anybody. Like, I don't, that's what I'm saying. It has to be because of the office she's in, because I just don't see her moving like that. Like, Fani is not an ugly woman. She's not unattractive. She does not have to pay like that. Now, she might be dating the wrong kind of man if she got to pay for everything. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, if for women, I just feel like if you're with a man who expects you to pay for everything, that is a sign that that's not the right person for you. Because that's just too much of a burden on a woman to have to do. I've certainly not experienced that I can recall, because I'm just like, if I'm paying like that, then, we literally are just friends. Like, of course, when it's a friendship kind of thing, of course, like, I don't have a problem. I don't expect a man to pay for anything for me. That's not my expectation as a woman. I've never really expected it. It's just been something that, I don't know. It's like, I don't even think about it. Like, most of the men that I've gone out with have just done it. Even when it comes to, like, just guy friends. Like, I've had guy friends who just pick up the tab, and I'm, like, really particular about even that. Like, if they pick up the tab once, I'll pick up the tab the next time. So I definitely understand Fani on that. But as a woman, having to pay for everything or most things, I'm not even looking at you like that. Like, it's just like, that to me just kills it. Like, it's like, no. And so if she didn't get there because he couldn't deliver, and I don't know if she was signaling that maybe he had prostate cancer or testicular cancer. There was some type of cancer that dealt with the lower region of his body that likely impacted their sexual interaction, impacted it and limited, because she talked about the claims being ridiculous, So I just think that, it's very interesting how much of this hearing is dissecting and going in depth into travel. And I'm interested in watching more and seeing what other things are uncovered as a result of their vacations and their travel. And let her tell it, let him tell it. She paid for everything, okay? He wasn't paying for nothing. If anything, she overpaid, because she said she did it big for his 50th birthday party. I'm like, girl, you doing way too much, Fani, way too much. So I see why he wasn't her number one choice. I just hope that at 52, 53 years old, that Fani pulls it together. I actually kind of feel sorry for her because of the fact that, you know, she said that she didn't know how lonely her life would be as the DA. Like, her life is threatened regularly and often, and that is a very difficult thing for a woman to go through, especially if she doesn't have a man, especially facing that without a man in her life. So I don't know. I just will say this. If you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you have not clicked the like button, click the like button. It's free, it's easy. And if you have not joined us on one of our travel experiences, take a look at the playback. Find out which one you'd like to join us on, and we'd love to have and host you on one of our future travel experiences. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to come on and do things more like face-to-face live, but I really like the audio experience. It's so easy for me. A lot of times, like right now, it's really cold here, and a lot of times I just like to bundle up and, you know, have my hoodie on, my glasses, and everything. So I don't like to really be on camera like that. But, you know, it's good to come on from time to time, and I definitely utilize the camera on other platforms. So, hey, why not? But again, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and stay tuned. All right, I will chop it up with y'all later.